you believe the sun's still out? That's the beauty of summer, isn't it? Well, welcome everybody to the City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, June the 4th. Like always, we are streaming live on City of Madison YouTube channel and also archiving it there for later viewing. As always, we will start with the Lord's Prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll get into roll call and our business tonight. Thank you.
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Like our clerk treasurer-elect, Shirley, to do the roll call, please. Shirley Rangers.
Hello. So we're going to start with Patrick Tevenow is absent, and Carla Krebs.
Here.
Lucy DeTillo. Here. Joshua Schaefer is online.
Yeah.
Online. Joel Swarm.
Here.
Jim Bartlett.
Here.
Josh Wilbur.
Here.
Pull that microphone over in front of you so everybody can hear you.
Council, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes from May 8th? If so, entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We do not have any presentation petitions tonight, so we'll move on to resolutions and bills. And I'll just, if Joe will introduce the first ordinance, and I'll give a little background on it.
The first ordinance or bill on the agenda is ordinance number 2024-5, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, establishing the Indiana Destination Development Corporation Grant Control Fund. Whereas the Indiana Destination Development Corporation, a tourism development office that is dedicated to supporting and promoting Indiana's tourism and talent attractions efforts. And whereas the Indiana Destination Development Corporation will be making restricted donations for various tourism-related initiatives within the City of Madison. And whereas the City of Madison wishes to establish a fund to deposit monies donated from the Indiana Destination Development Corporation to the City of Madison initiatives. Now therefore be ordained by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana as follows. A controlled fund is established to deposit monies donated from the Indiana Destination Development Corporation. The monies will come as restricted donations for a specific purpose through an agreement for each donation, which will specify the accepted use of the funds. The fund shall be named the Indiana Destination Development Corporation Grant Control Fund. All funds contained in the account shall be expended only for the exclusive purpose detailed in each restricted donation agreement. The Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana will review and agree to each donation agreement prior to accepting the funds, and no further appropriation is required. The express written approval of the Board of Public Works and Safety shall be obtained prior to the expenditure of funds from the account. For each type of restricted donation, separate individual accounts shall be monitored to reflect receipts, disbursements, and current balances. The fund shall be non-reverting and exist perpetually unless terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council. The fund terminated by a subsequent ordinance enacted by the Common Council, the remaining balance of the terminated account shall revert to the general budget of the Common Council.
Council, I'll just mention it's no coincidence that tonight's agenda is full of tourism-related investment opportunities. That's what's on the agenda, both with the proposed bill for the establishment of this control fund to receive grants from Indiana Destination Development Corporation. Earlier today, several council members and myself attended, Emily did as well, Madison Main Street Tourism Conference, which I thought was excellent. And it really shows the direction Madison is heading with its branding and placemaking investments, and I thought it was great. But tonight's also fitting because the two bills, or the resolution and a bill, is about tourism. So, as you know, a couple years ago we formed the Public Arts Commission. It's been going through its work, and now we have our first major public art investment opportunity that's under development. Emily's going to give us an overview of that.
Good evening, Council. I have just a short presentation for you guys about, kind of give you a little detail about the ordinance and the grant agreement that you're looking at. Thank you, Hannah. So last year, the Public Arts Commission issued an RFQ for a sculpture at the US 421 Gateway, and we received about 20 submissions from that RFQ. Those were then narrowed down to 3 finalists. Those 3 finalists then visited Madison. We kind of gave them a tour, showed them our community, all of our public art, to try to give them an idea of what would fit, give them some inspiration. They were then given a couple months to go and create an idea and come back to us, and that was then presented to our committee. And so that is the winner that you see right there pictured in front of you, that was approved by the Public Arts Commission on December 12th, 2023. That contract was awarded to Beverly Stucker Precious and her design studio, Precious Design Studios. And so we have been working with her since then. Just a brief little kind of snippet about the sculpture and kind of the meaning behind it. The stainless steel plane that you see right there is representative of Madison's future, and then it meets with the oxidized steel plane that kind of showcases our past and our heritage. And then in the middle is the dichroic glass that you see, which there's a better picture of it in a couple slides. And so those meet in the middle to form the river's edge, hence the name of the sculpture. So a little bit about the funding for the sculpture. The total cost for the sculpture will be $175,000. 50 of that will be coming from Public Art Commission funds. And then we are planning to raise another 50 through the platform Patronicity, which is a platform that was used for the Kindness Mural. And so we will be doing that in partnership with the Madison Area Arts Alliance. And so if we meet our goal of 50, then we will get a $50,000 match through the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority. So that will hopefully get us $100,000 from Patronicity. And then we will have the $25,000 from IDDC that is presented to you guys tonight. So for the sculpture itself, and more so the details about the grant, that you have the agreement in front of you tonight. So that grant is for $25,000, and the breakdown of those funds, which is also in that agreement, the artist's fee we will be paying out of that is $17,000, and then engineering will be $3,000, and then lighting will be $5,000. So that's kind of the breakdown of where that $25,000 is going to through that grant agreement. And then kind of just a brief schedule. I connected with Beverly earlier this week, and so she has recently chosen a fabricator based out of Indy, and so they are working on going through the final drawings and eventually ordering the metal once Beverly has approved all of the drawings from the fabricator. And then once all the metal comes in, they'll go through fabrication, hopefully a couple months of that, and then once it is fabricated, installation shouldn't take too long, so we're hoping for installation by the end of September. I think that's it, yeah. Do you guys have any questions?
Were any of the applicants for the RFQ local?
Yes, there were certain restrictions for the RFQ. I think they had to be either from Indiana or were born here and then had left. There were a couple of other requirements, but we did try to we wanted an Indiana person. So yes, we had about 20. We actually had several international applicants that weren't able to be considered because we had those Indiana constraints. But yes, we had probably, I would say, maybe 5 or so local people that did apply. Yes.
And how are the RFQs released? Is it through a government website, or is it through the city, or?
A little bit of all of the above. I know it was posted on the city LinkedIn. I know it was the Arts Alliance, I think, tried to post it on the Indiana Arts Commission, any kind of art-centric place where the artists could see it. I know it was posted on our city website. I think it might have been posted on Facebook. So yeah, tried multiple outlets, and we definitely tried to reach where the artists would see it as well to try to get as much interest as possible.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If I may, the funding question, we do anticipate the probability of additional grants down the road for other projects.
Yes, that was part of why, and talking with the mayor about this, that was part of why we just decided to go ahead and set up a fund for the Indiana Destination Development Corporation in hopes we're doing kind of these tourism placemaking related initiatives to hopefully just go ahead. It's easier to just go ahead and set up that fund now. So if we do apply, they're having yearly grant cycles at the moment. So if we go ahead and apply for another, then we can just go ahead and put that in there instead of having to worry about it each time. It'll have a dedicated home if we get more money from them. So yeah, exactly.
And I'll just mention, in addition to grant funding, the Indiana Destination Development Corporation also provides a lot of guidance and support to communities on their placemaking endeavors. So we're in conversation with them a lot. Elaine Bedell, Hanover College graduate, is the president of the Indiana Development Corporation. She's also the chair of the board of Hanover College, so she is in Madison quite often and meets with us. Another example of placemaking through a different part of IDDC is the branding program that they have. So if you see part of our water tower project on top of Hanover Hill, up there behind Casey's, you'll see a new logo up there. It says Discover Madison in Indiana. And so that branding opportunity came about through working with IDDC, and we incorporated it into our water project. So other opportunities besides grants too.
It seems like it's a really great opportunity to integrate maybe the youth with this. I don't know if there's been any thought to feasibility. I mean, because when I see projects like this, you have the actual tactile artistry, but then you have planning and phasing, a lot of things that may be useful for young students at Ivy Tech or in the high school to actually kind of align themselves with groups of these people in order to get some of that learning. Is there any kind of have you guys thought about how maybe we could incorporate that? I think that gets a lot of bang for our buck with these projects because we're educating, the youth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with this one, we definitely talked about it, trying to use cub manufacturing and some of that stuff. I think with this one specifically, a lot of it was left up to Beverly, like the artist, to kind of try to go and find, because she is from, I believe, South Bend. She's from Indiana, but she lives in Florida, so she is now, and so she's trying to kind of commute and figure all that out. So with this one, it was more so left up to them, but that has been a key component in trying to figure out how do we kind of activate the artists that we already have, especially the young students. And I know with stuff even that we've done with Dale Rogers and him working with the high school and junior high, that has been a key part. But yes, we have talked about it, and we're trying heavily to kind of figure out. Yeah,
it's a main goal of the Public Arts Commission to include our youth in those efforts. Kim Nyberg, who's the chair of the Public Arts Commission, is also the executive director for Madison Area Arts Alliance, and then also one of the other board members, Eric Fagan, who's a local artist here, teacher at the school, the art teacher. They've created Makerspace up there, so there's a great alliance between us. And she mentioned Dale Rogers when he did the traveling exhibit down there while he was in town. He did an artist residency program where he went and spoke to all the art students and actually all of the classes up there about art and the craft as well as the profession.
I think the commission, we're fairly new, and so this is kind of dipping our toe in it for the first time, and then trying to kind of establish some things and perfect our crafts. But yes, we are definitely working to activate everybody at all levels.
So on the next agenda will be more discussion on the ordinance as well as the grant agreement. So we'll have two actions on that in the future.
So just real quick,
yeah.
want to review the
Yes.
because we all have our different tastes in art.
Yes.
And there are lots of opinions, and that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But a lot of people were upset at that. It's expensive. Art is expensive, and they didn't want that money, coming out of the budget or whatever. So just to review, you've got the $25,000 from the Indiana Destination Development.
Yes.
You've got the Patronicity $50,000 match if we can raise $50,000 in private donations.
Yes.
And then the last $50,000 is from the Madison Arts Alliance, correct? Public Arts
Yes.
Commission. So that would be some city money because we do give them some money.
Yes.
From the TIF district.
Yes.
So-
From the TIF, okay.
So out
Yes.
of our general operating budget, it will be invested.
No,
Okay.
That is.
And I just want to make a comment on that too, which is just perspective. Remember what that gateway looked like a few years ago. The tattoo parlors, adult businesses, abandoned gas stations, the yard sales. So that was just a few years ago. So $16 million, put that in perspective, $16 million has been invested in the gateway and the bridge approach. So when you think about the cost, now what we're trying to do is make that entry to Madison the most spectacular entrance you would have coming into the most spectacular historic district in the country. That, although that's $175,000, it's a fraction of the $16 million plus that's been invested in the gateway to Madison, the gateway to Indiana. So I throw that out there because that's just one number of a very, very large number.
Well, I think that number is proportional, but I'm glad to hear, from you guys. Personally, I understand that it's developing and everyone has their own great idea, but it's important to see that you guys are working towards those objectives. And I think as we spend money, including the community in those endeavors in terms of the actual project is great. I think my sensitivity to price, gets less when I know that, this is the investment in, the kids or the community and stuff like that, which I'm not saying it isn't. It's just nice to hear that, that gives me some discretionary, insight.
Absolutely, and she's
thank
trying to, her hardest to use local whenever, like for installation and, lighting, all of that kind of stuff that will be done here locally. She had reached out to several people, even just when bringing the model to us late last year. So she's definitely committed to kind of using all of our local resources because she knows that helps them too. It shouldn't just be, she shouldn't just get to take it all out, but she's definitely committed to using all of our local companies too. So, yeah.
Move on to the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Good job. Before you do that, I want to introduce Andrew Forrester, Executive Director of VMI is here. Trevor Crafton, who is President of Jefferson County Board of Tourism, are here as our guests. This is an important resolution, I think, for our council to consider. It's been a year-long endeavor, and I'd invite both of them. As Joe reads that, also address the council in the mayor's office.
Okay. Resolution number 2024-6C, a resolution of the Board of Public Works, I'm still on yesterday. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, supporting an increase in the county innkeeper's taxes. Whereas, in July of 1987, Jefferson County Council increased the Jefferson County innkeeper's tax from 4% to 5%. In May of 2016, Council adopted an ordinance 2019-1 setting forth procedures for local collection of tax pursuant to Indiana Code 6-9-15-6. In September of 2021, Council adopted an ordinance 2021-3 which identifies the composition of the 7-member board of managers whose role it is to invest the funds in a manner in which promotes the development and growth of convention activity, tourism, and industry in Madison and Jefferson County. Whereas, in March of 2024, the Indiana General Assembly passed Senate Bill 238, which became Public Law 121 when signed by Governor Eric J. Holcomb on March 13, 2024. The legislation amends Indiana Code 6-9-15-6 to enable Jefferson County and other counties to impose a rate of up to 8% innkeeper's tax until December 31st, 2045. And whereas the investment in innkeeper's tax, which is assessed on lodging and short-term rentals and supports quality of life strategies, drives businesses to our local economies, enhances workforce retention and development, supports small business, provides funding for arts and culture, and funds capital needs across the community. Whereas to increase this tax, Jefferson County Council must pass an ordinance adopting the increased amount. And whereas the City of Madison has representation on the Jefferson County Board of Tourism and supports the Jefferson County Council's effort to pass an ordinance raising the innkeeper's tax from 5 to 8% effective January 1, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, that the City of Madison, Indiana does hereby support the Jefferson County Council's effort to raise the Jefferson County innkeeper's tax from 5% to 8%.
evening and welcome. Maybe just describe why this is important and the strategies behind VMI and JCBT that would necessitate an increase in our innkeeper's tax, and maybe background on the innkeeper's tax too.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about this even before I came on board at Visit Madison. I know it was a discussion among Jefferson County Board of Tourism because there's a lot of projects that are coming up that need investment, and if we're going to continue to support the kinds of things that our visitors want, and also support those things that are needed by our residents, we need to have a mechanism to do that. And so I came in and the discussion was happening about raising the innkeeper's tax. Worked with Trevor and with Jim to go up and talk to the state legislature. They were very open to it, and of course passed the enabling legislation in this year's legislative session. And of course you see it was passed, and now the process comes to the local level and the county council and taking it there. I know a number of you wrote letters of support in favor of this as we had early discussions about what does this look like, because we kind of were in this little game where the legislature wanted to see local support for it, and the local support wanted to say, well, we can't really support it until the state legislature does something. But finally we broke through that, and we appreciate there's a number of you that wrote letters of support, and so we were able to get that passed by the General Assembly, and now it comes to the county council, and this reaffirms this council's support for that to the county council, and shows the types of things that we can invest in with those dollars that are paid for by a lot of funds that are paid by out of town visitors. So it's not another tax on locals, and that's what we constantly hear as a concern. The tourism takes a lot from our community in some ways, that they they come in and they utilize some of our resources, but they also bring a lot more back, and through this they're able to help fund a lot of these capital projects and things that need to be funded in order to bring even more people here and support what we're doing. That's a quick summary.
I cannot add anything else. I think that was perfect.
But there are capital projects that Jefferson County Board of Tourism has been partnering with the city as well as the other organizations, and I want to thank Representative Zimmerman and our state senator Raina Maxwell for sponsoring the legislation, and they worked really hard on that over the course of the past session with our local group here. And it really is, they're advocates of Madison, they're advocates of our growth of our community, and to grow requires a tremendous amount of capital for long-term investments, but also for the programming and the events that we all benefit from. And Trevor's being modest because he's driving a lot of that strategy with the Board of Tourism.
Do you all have any specific questions?
Yeah. Who specifically is affected as an innkeeper, and how is that tax distributed to them? Do they pay that out of the profits that they gain, or is that a?
So that's a great question. From an Airbnb owner, for example, Airbnb goes ahead and pulls that 5%, that 8% out of there, and then it's sent to the state.
Okay.
I think for actual bed and breakfast, they have to do it manually.
Yeah, local hotels and bed and breakfasts, they submit locally to the county treasurer, and it's a pass-through. We talk about it, its official name is a tax, but it's not like the owner is taxed on their profits. That's something they pass on to the user. So when you spend $100 on your hotel room, it's $100 plus than that 5% right now, maybe 8% after county council would pass it, is just added to it. And most of the time, as we talked about, when you're traveling, chances are you get to the front desk, you're checking out, you go sign the paper, and you look and you go, all right, well, I knew there'd be taxes added to it. You sign it, you move on.
Certainly.
And so it's not coming out of the hotelier's pockets in that way. It's a user fee that's passed on from the consumer, collected by locals, and then it goes to the Board of Tourism to then determine where those funds are spent.
And there's a process that it goes to Priceline, Expedia, and we met with we met with the hoteliers, and that's why we pushed for January 1, 2025, because we could have done it earlier, which we would leave money on the table. We get that, but the hoteliers are sensitive to, the busy season now and then in the fall as well, so.
Understood. Thank you.
Great
And I
question.
think just, we would love to encourage Trevor, your group, to set aside some of that money for capital projects. You know, we have learned as a city council, things that don't get fixed for years and years and years, and then somebody gets it and has to invest a lot of money. So obviously some of it will go to some of the programs currently, but yay for some capital projects money.
So that additional three, half of that, 1.5, will be, set aside specifically for, capital improvements.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's in the county ordinance.
Yeah.
Jim is the sponsor of this, and he's also on JCBT. Do you have any follow-up on that?
No, I just wanted to echo the last answer, and that is the county ordinance as written indicates that once this is in effect, that 18.75% of the total amount received by the Board of Tourism will be committed to capital projects as determined by the Board of Tourism. But there's a definition for capital projects that will basically it's projects that will last for multiple years, and it's pretty much brick and mortar type of projects.
It's things that really move the needle. It's not like flowers.
Yeah.
So Andrew or Trevor, what is the amount of increase that's expected with this increase in percentage on the innkeeper's tax that
As in
Jefferson County?
Dollar
Yeah.
figures. Should have had my paperwork. Our total collections this last year was 732,000, right around that. So this looks like, I think if I'm remembering,
Close to $1 million.
It'll get us
total
to
$1 million.
Close to $1 million.
It's
Okay.
about 250,000, something like that.
Okay.
based on what we've seen post-COVID.
And the only way really residents would ever pay this was if they would stay in a hotel, right? That's local in Jefferson County, correct? Yeah.
And I think, there is some business travel that takes advantage of that.
Right.
So it might be incurred by some businesses, but
Sure.
a lot of times, you've got business people coming from out of town as well, and that's kind of a cost of doing business. It's not incurred by the local resident, so.
Don't tell that to the CEOs that we.
Yeah, no,
But yes, yeah, businesses obviously use our local hotels and so
Yeah,
forth
yeah.
to put up out of town residents and so forth. But
Yeah,
But more importantly, if you look at the big picture, the people who are paying this tax are, as I say, generally out-of-town folks, and they are generating an immense amount of business throughout the city, which the local businesses, when they are incurring this tax, are also benefiting from. So it's for the local economy, it's a win-win.
Well, it was fascinating as well when we went up to the State House, when we were pushing, for this to pass. A lot of the other communities throughout the state of Indiana said, "Oh my gosh, you guys got that done," and then they piggybacked. It was interesting.
In your opinion, what is the largest burden cost that we take on as a community when we have large influxes of tourism? I mean, it can be anecdotal. I'm not necessarily
Yeah.
asking for a statistic, but
anecdotally, I'd look at the public safety side first and foremost, because when the city has a large event that you've got to plan for, then you've got police officers on staff, you've got fire departments that need to be there and stationed. I look at those probably first and foremost, public safety costs. I think the other thing is infrastructure and wear and tear on roads and sidewalks, and needing to have those up to a quality of being able to have visitors using those. And so that's why we're talking about the infrastructure piece being so important, is because that's a part of what the visitors use, and it's our sidewalks, it's our streets, it's public transportation, some pieces like that. And I think the great thing about this fund is it's going to be able to be used to improve those things that will not only benefit our visitors, but also our residents that are here 365 days a year.
Yeah, well, I certainly commend you guys doing that, find that creative solution that doesn't seem to burden, the local residents and, gets that job done. So thank you for that support and doing that.
We talked about raising that tax 15 years ago, and nobody was brave enough. So I'm really happy that the right people are in the right place at the right time, doing some really good work. And your question was very valid. What do we spend money on? And it's the wear and tear and cost of doing business to take on the tourism industry and have an influx of people. And those people bring money to the town, make it sustainable. We only have X amount of dollars that can be circulated in our community, so we have to get it from somewhere else. So that's the value of tourism.
And I'll just mention, there's another cost, it's the opportunity cost. It's losing out on future opportunities, and as Lucy was saying, it's been 1987 since we increased this tax, and just think about what the economy of a dollar is now and how much everything costs, and the investment that had to be made in the Fairfield in order to create that opportunity was significant. It was borne by the city. We've been strong supporters of this initiative because now we're going to be able to do joint capital planning on things that benefit the entire community with the Jefferson County Board of Tourism and the tourism community. So we're all in favor of it because there's going to be more opportunities, and there's a great need right now. We're talking about not only what do we do to accommodate the tourism, but improve the quality of life through placemaking investments in the city that also benefit tourism. So there's a tremendous synergy with what we're working on together right now.
Thank you all.
Any other comments or questions or statements on the resolution? I was going to see if there was any public comment too, but yes. Motion and a second, and we'll go to public comment.
Okay.
We could do it. Let's go ahead and do a motion and a second, and we'll go to public comment if that's okay.
So I move that we accept the resolution as stated.
I will second that motion.
Now we're open for comment. Anybody here like to address the council or mayor's office? Please come to the podium and name and address and question or comment, please.
Hi, I'm Deanna Shelley, live in the West End. Tweaked my ears a bit when it said raising taxes for capital project, which I don't know what you mean other than you say keep the streets up, but a brick and mortar project? That made me wonder, because that sounds like you're adding a building, or am I wrong?
Well, it could be a number of things. I think Andrew or Trevor had mentioned it can be buying equipment. Anything that's got a useful life longer than a year or two. But the example I gave was the Fairfield Marriott project. That is a capital improvement project that is directly impacting tourism. It could be lodging. It could be other types of other projects. It could be, one of the things they're talking about is trolley or sports tourism or making improvements to the comfort station. So it's a whole gambit of things that are big ticket that's different than a $25,000 grant for marketing of an event.
So it would be to better the structures we have, not to add a structure.
It could be a lot of things. There's no limit on what it can be, except for the definition of being a capital improvement and subject to the governance and purview of the Jefferson County Board of Tourism.
But our immediate needs would be like the bathrooms at Bicentennial, public restrooms, or the comfort station, the public restrooms. Those are the brick and mortar type thing. Yes.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Modernizing them.
It's not saying we would never build a building, but currently our concerns are the public restrooms on Main Street and Bicentennial Park.
And the one string that is attached, it has to benefit tourism.
Okay. I think that still keeps my brain muddled, but that would do.
Any other questions or comments relative to this resolution? Hearing none, we'll go to roll call. Clerk?
Roll call vote. Gonna start with Mr. Bartlett. You have made.
Here, yes.
Made a motion. Yes. Josh Wilbur.
Yes.
Carla Krebs.
Yes.
Lucy DeTesta.
Yes.
Joshua Schaefer. Is he still here?
Josh Schaefer?
Okay, that's okay. And Joel Storm.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Moving on, are there any reports or recommendations or other business from standing select committees of council?
I had asked Josh Schaefer, I don't know if he can do it remotely, to give a report on our special projects committee. Josh, do you feel comfortable doing that, or I can summarize it?
I can give a real quick synopsis, if you guys can hear me. So the new projects committee has met twice now. Myself, Councilwoman Krebs, and Councilman Wilbur, along with the mayor and Hannah as well. We have been reviewing the rules of procedure for the council as a starting point. There's a lot of outdated language that needs to be modernized. A lot of small rules of procedure that frankly haven't been followed in decades, in terms of referring to the mayor as Mr. President during the meetings, which we've never wanted to do, and we said we put our foot down and said we're not going to. So we're writing that out of the council rules of procedure. We are very close to having an ordinance prepared to deliver to the full council. I would expect here in the next meeting or two, that should be on the agenda.
Good update, Josh. I think that's been a very productive first couple of meetings, honestly. So thank you for that update. Any other updates, council? Moving on, and I want to thank our guests who are here. Andrew, and I think Trevor just left, but thank you for being here. And now I'd like to bring up MPD Chief Sean Scudder to give a report on public safety efforts. Welcome, Chief.
How's everybody doing? Stats, that was the first thing we were going to talk about. The mayor said I was not allowed to talk about all 60 categories, but year to date we're at about 6,100 calls for service, 1,400 we're in the month of May. Year to date we're about a 36% increase over last year. And a lot of that's contributed to proactive policing, a lot of traffic stops, a lot of business and security checks. You guys have any questions about any specific category? Or?
Security checks. Okay, so like if my stupid home alarm goes off and I'm out of town and the police have to come, does that fall in that category?
No, there's a separate category for alarms. These are, so the comfort station, fireman's park,
Okay.
businesses, just stuff that we haven't checked before. And the main goal, I encouraged officers to start doing security checks, and the main goal is to get them out and into neighborhoods more. And I think Debbie can attest, right? You've seen them more on Walnut Street than you ever have. And that was my goal, was just to get them out and moving and be seen. And they've come across a lot of stuff doing those, a lot of open doors on businesses and stuff, so it's been productive, I think.
Sean, is there a reason of course, it kind of started off slow, and then you had like almost 4 times in May on security checks.
Yeah, I think a lot of the officers were doing them. They just weren't calling them into dispatch. They were never getting logged.
Okay.
So I told these guys, if you're doing anything, log it with dispatch so we know what you're doing. And it's just a reflection of the amount of work that they're actually putting in. So. Anything else on stats? Nope. Good. Yeah, I think the special details and patrols may fall under. A lot of this is dependent upon dispatch and how they log them. So those special details and patrols could be security checks. The assist to other agencies, I think that's probably just an anomaly for this month. You can see it usually stays pretty close. So the sheriff's department may have picked up activity, doing a lot of traffic stops close to the city limits, and and our officers are responding to back them up.
And you talked about traffic stops. You've increased your traffic stops this year purposely. Could you talk a little bit about that and what you guys have?
Yeah, so
got
part
from
of
that?
those, if you look in January and then again in March, those numbers are higher, and we can contribute that to Operation Pullover,
Okay.
which is a grant that we get through the state, and it pays the officers overtime. And it's targeted efforts, like one blitz or one quarter may be targeted towards driving while intoxicated, and the next blitz might be seat belts or school bus stop arm violations, just whatever they want us to target at that time.
Okay.
The biggest thing that we have planned here in the next, we're going to roll out in June our community watch programs. Hannah made a map of the city. Keely made a map of the city. We've got it broke up into 12 neighborhoods, and we're going to roll that out hopefully within the next couple weeks and have meetings in each neighborhood and invite the community or the members of that community to the meeting, explain what this is going to look like, and then we hope to appoint someone in that community to lead that initiative, and then they will report directly to me. So that neighborhood could meet however often they want, whether it's once a month or once a quarter, and then I will meet with the captains or the leaders of that neighborhood on a regular basis.
That sounds like a great initiative. How do you plan on just providing that information to the public?
We're going to try to roll out some brochures. We're also going to put it on the city's website, the police department's website, and then social media. What's that? Press release, yes.
And can you, Sean, make sure that you include, like, if it's in my district,
Yes.
I would like to be there?
I was going to reach out to all of you
Okay.
as well. I'm sure you have people in your community that are vocal that would probably be interested in being a community leader.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
think you all would be great for
Thank you.
resources for that.
On the neighborhood watch thing, we've had good success with that downtown. I hope it's embraced all over the city. Like you said, he broke it out into 12 neighborhoods. The best eyes and ears that we have are people out in the community. It's not us driving around, looking for things or responding to things. So hopefully we have good community engagement on it. That's going to make us a much safer community.
Yep. I think it'll be great. It'll give the people, their community, a sense of ownership over things, and put some stuff into their hands and feel like they have a better line of communication with us as well. Any questions on that? Staffing, I was going to talk about staffing real quick. We currently have one officer at the police academy, and I believe he graduates the 1st of August, and then we'll roll him into a field training program. We have conditional offers to 3 others, and we're just awaiting approval for them to be admitted into our retirement fund. Thanks, Shirley, for helping. We still have a couple openings, and we're going to start a hiring process soon. We were just left it open trying to gather some more qualified candidates, but we hope to start the hiring process soon to fill the last couple spots, and then hopefully we'll be fully staffed and be doing a lot better job. Any questions about that?
Do you have any pending concerns with staffing issues right now as far as personnel and outgoing, incoming?
Well, recruitment and retention are 2 big concerns that we've been researching some efforts to try to, implement some new programs to help with recruitment and retention. There's been a lot of communities across the country that have tried a lot of things and they don't work. They may work for just a little bit, but they don't see a lot of return on the investments that they put in. So whatever we do, I want to make sure it's the right thing and that it really works. So I want to put some effort into anything that we do and make sure it's a right fit. So we're going to keep working on that and keep researching until we figure it out.
It's tough to recruit for, and it's getting harder and harder to retain because of the mobility that these experienced officers are in high demand, and there's fewer of them. Every law enforcement agency is having the same issues we're having.
Yeah.
We're also dealing with shift matters to try to help alleviate some of the fatigue that's often being incurred by our officers through the long shifts. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we're currently working 12-hour shifts. In August, we're going to go back to an 8-hour shift. The biggest issue we've had with, especially with the staff shortages, is when we are short, getting officers to work overtime to fill those spots. And when they're on a 12-hour shift, they're tired. They don't want to work over, obviously, past their 12 hours, and they don't want to come in on their days off. So I think going back to an 8-hour shift, officers will be willing to stay over past their shift or maybe come in early and then also on their days off. So I think that's August 5th. We're going to make that move back to 8s, and I think it's going to be beneficial.
How are the officers reacting to that so far?
They're receptive to the 8-hour shifts. There's a couple of them a little upset with me on the shift that they got put on, but
Gotcha.
they'll adjust. I did the first 7 years of my career on either second or third shift.
Yeah,
So they'll survive.
I understand. Thanks.
Do you have anything else you wanted me to touch on?
I know we're going to get into East End.
East End.
But I just want to compliment the chief. He's taken on a lot of objectives. He and Major Munt. He's got staffing challenges and public safety challenges all across the city. And even for a small community, we have a tremendous amount of transient and local traffic in our community. When you look at the span of a year, it's millions of vehicles moving about our community, through our community, all year long, and we have a relatively small department. But nonetheless, I looked at our activity year to date compared to year to date last year, and we're up 36% in proactive activity in response. And just through May of this year, we're talking about 6,300 calls our department has made. They're under a lot of demand, as is our sheriffs and state police and other responders, our fire department too. So I think they're doing an excellent job with the resources that they have and the resource challenges that they have. But public safety is something they have to focus on 24 hours, 7 days a week, all the time. When he's not working, he's not sleeping because he's thinking about it. I know him because we communicate all the time. And making our streets safer is a high priority. So elaborate a little bit, Chief, on East End.
Do you guys have a copy of this?
They do not have a copy of that. We're presenting the traffic plan that was presented at the public meeting last September. And it's substantially the same, but we just wanted to deal with this tonight.
So the main goal of this traffic calming pattern is to slow traffic down on East Main Street, especially that traffic traveling east towards the bridge. We have a big issue with, as soon as they hit Main Street, whether they're coming off of Jefferson or coming eastbound, they speed up to try to get in front of everybody before it merges into one lane, so they're not behind the slow car before they hit the bridge. So this is gonna, as soon as they hit Main Street coming off of Jefferson, they're immediately gonna encounter one lane of traffic, and there's not an opportunity for them to speed up and get around the other cars. So it'll actually start back at Mulberry and Main, and it'll merge into one lane. The eastbound traffic on Main Street from Mulberry will merge into a single lane, and that will continue the same all the way down to the bridge, if that makes sense.
So it's going to be kind of like what happens at Broadway,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
It's the exact same
Yes.
thing because it goes to
It's gonna
one, you
mimic
turn
the West
left.
End.
Yep.
It's gonna mimic the West End, where you have a travel lane and turn lane, staging areas. It'll slow things down, but keep traffic moving. It's gonna make it safer. That East End, it's the widest crosswalks in the city with the most traffic, going the fastest. So it's a very dangerous corridor, and we're gonna have a public meeting on this before we take action at the Board of Public Works and Safety, and I'm sure there'll be quite a few residents here vocalizing their support for it, as they did at the public meeting, because what really spurred this was just the number of accidents, near accidents, I should say, with residents trying to cross Main Street. And talk a little bit about what we've done so far. The traffic pattern is actually the fourth step in our strategies that we outlined in September. The other three areas, Chief?
Yeah, so the 4 steps were to increase enforcement, have an increase in officer presence down on East Main Street, which we have tried our best to do. Often they get pulled away, but they've been down there. Improve the visibility of the pedestrian crossing and signage. You guys have, I'm sure, have seen the tall signs there in the divider, and crosswalk awareness and signage. So this is the fourth step, and I think it's going to be productive and will really slow down traffic and minimize the risk of the pedestrians crossing there.
The thing for me is, I know going, because I go Broadway all the time, is some signage, some better signage so people know that when you get in that left lane, you have to turn when you get to that point. I see a lot of people that didn't realize it, and then all of a sudden
they
they're
hit
trying,
Broadway Street and they're in the left lane, and then they try to.
Yep,
Yes.
they try to merge over. So just knowing that that definitely is. So if we do that down here, just best practices and learned things.
Yes.
So.
So, is there gonna be a turn lane to go north on like East Street?
Yes, there will be a center turn lane to turn north on Walnut and East and St. Michael's. Yes.
The other very difficult thing is when you're pulling onto Main Street from East Street.
Yes,
Really
it
difficult.
is.
It's a lot of road to cross
Either way,
over.
whether you're coming north or south.
Right, and I think this will minimize some of that danger. It'll not only slow down, but you're only contending with 1 lane of traffic versus 2.
Council, our plan is to share this with you guys and have another opportunity for the public to comment on it before we take action at the Board of Public Works. But it's what we talked about in September. It's been this many months to actually design it and work collaboratively with NDOT. So there's still some.
Appreciate you being involved with it, Chief. I think it's good for us. Thank you.
That's all I've got for you, unless you guys have other questions. Nope. Thank you.
Keep up the good job, Chief. We do not have any bills on third or second reading. Now we'll open up the floor to public comments. If anybody's here would like to address council or the mayor's office, as always, come to podium, name, address, and remarks, please.
Do I have to give my name again?
We already got it, Deanna. Thank you.
Okay. Well, because I wanted to add to that, because he said, go to 1 lane beginning at Mulberry, which then disrupts the delivery issue. And I
What
thought,
he was-
why not at Jefferson?
Well, you have to stage. What he was talking about is the staging process to get into the 1 lane if you're heading east and crossing Jefferson has to begin in the block between Mulberry and Jefferson Street. So that's a staging area. There's still going to be 4 lanes, so we're not cutting it down to 2. There's still going to be 4 lanes, 2 travel on the east end, 2 travel lanes, and then a center turn lane for left and right. So for trucks that are delivering here, it's not going to be any disruption of them. They'll pull up where they are now, and you just have to go around them.
Okay, which we do.
If you do.
No problem
Yeah.
there. Okay. I've had a question about we always have the great big semis missing the truck route information. And so I was wondering, has the city ever thought about contacting the State Highway Department to improve the signage? I think they're missing it.
Well, we've reduced the truck traffic probably by about 95%, but there are some that leak through, and there are some that ignore the signs.
Yeah, I see a lot of them.
They ignore it, and yes, NDOT placed the signs where their engineers recommended placing the signs.
Well,
So if
they
you're coming
didn't
into
do a
town-
very good job.
Well, I'm just saying is that, I'm not defending them, but I'm saying if you're coming into town, there's 3 miles worth of signs saying, hey, you're about to come into a a restricted area. But, yeah,
Well,
that-
I just suggest 2 points. When they get to the top of Hanover Hill and the bar that goes over that lists the roads and their directions, there should be a truck route sign pointing that away. The same at Jefferson, when they get to that corner, there should be one on the bar on that Jefferson and Main that says truck route this way. So, that's my comment on that. But I notice we have, seems like only one officer that will stop a semi when he gets on Main Street. Is that true?
well, there's a part-time officer whose primary duty is to, when he's working, patrol Main Street, but all the officers patrol Main Street.
Well, I never see any of the others stop the trucks.
Chief?
If you see an officer pass a semi on Main Street and they don't stop,
Get that car number.
please let me know.
Yes.
Well,
There's
I
a number on the back
happens
of the
every
car,
day.
a 2-digit number, give me that number and I'll take it.
And how about speeders? Sometimes they go right past them too. Okay. Is there a thing you can do about abandoned vehicles? Oh, good.
That's one of our bigger nuisance violations that we incur, and I think last year we towed about 80 abandoned vehicles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because there's one that's been sitting over here on Third and West for months and months.
Well, I don't know if that's an abandoned vehicle, but I see where
But
you're going with that.
it's sitting there forever, so that seems like it would qualify.
It doesn't.
Oh.
Unfortunately, no.
Because we have an
There's a state
ordinance,
statute- There's a
our-
state statute that dictates the abandoned vehicle law, which then we have a local ordinance that matches it.
so that if it belongs to a person that lives, and we are getting ready to review this in our special projects group, I think the wording is near their residence. Okay, so if the person has a residence that's near that, it's not considered an abandoned vehicle.
It can be there forever.
I'm just saying we need to change the wording. We need to be more specific. It's a
Yeah,
little,
needs to be a little
it's
reasonable.
gray, right? And that is on our agenda for the future for that special projects.
Okay. Barrels and sidewalks. I am so sick of barrels, and they're everywhere in town. You can't get away from them. So, is there some kind of plan going on for downtown sidewalks that, because it seems like perfectly good sidewalks are being ripped up and replaced.
Well, that's not the case. We have a sidewalk asset management plan where they're rated, and we combine our sidewalk initiatives, particularly when we're doing streets, but we're not tearing out perfectly good sidewalks just to put new ones in.
What was wrong with that one right there? From the corner of West down to the alley. It seemed like it was
Oh,
good.
that one there was damage on that, and we're doing an accommodation with a complete repaving on West Street. If you'd like to look at our asset management plan, I believe it might be online, or we can get it to you.
Now, so it's not for all of downtown. You're not driving up everything.
We did an asset management plan that looked at all 9 miles of the city of Madison sidewalks. They were all rated. We looked at accessibility. That's why you'll see a lot of our curb ramps being replaced because they're
I
not
get
ADA
that.
accessible.
I get that.
So there's a rating there. We're working on the worst sidewalks now, but in some instances where we are doing a new paving project, we look at that sidewalk because we can include it in our road paving grant application.
Well, why have we gone to this chalky white modernistic look instead of the more tempered concrete that's up and down Main Street?
Well, what's tempered is 20 years old, so you're seeing new versus weathered and old.
It was never that chalky white.
I'm
been here
sorry, I can't
forever.
help you on that one.
Well, I thought we could make a better choice, more in keeping with our historic look.
We follow all the state requirements for what the composition of the sidewalk needs to include.
And we have no choice?
You can feel free to call our Deputy Mayor Mina McGee about your concerns with the sidewalks.
I can do
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Okay, now wait a minute. I have a list. often wonder this question. Who in the city is in charge of keeping us within the requirements for our National Historic Landmarks qualification?
That would come through our building planning office, and we have certified local government certifications that we make, so that is where that happens.
Who's that person?
That's Nicole Shell. We also have a full-time preservation planner, and Nicole is a master degree historic preservation planner herself.
Do we review it every now and then to make sure we're staying within the
just-
guidelines?
Well, I'll just say that after 30 years, yeah, we just reviewed our historic district survey. We just updated our historic district guidelines. So we've done more in the last 2 years than in the last 30 in that regard.
Well, that's updating guidelines. That's
And the
not
historic
staying
district survey.
within specifications.
We are staying within specifications. If you have a concern, you can also talk to Nicole about that.
Okay. Okay, I'm almost done. Well, I attended the meeting regarding the increase for funds needed with our trash issue. And then weeks later, a thought just hit me, and I thought, I know that department has had to buy equipment over the 80 years I've been here, but the public was never asked to pay for it in their water bill. So I figured it must have been a budgeted item at some time, or in all of the past. So what happened this time?
It's not supposed to be a budgeted item, but for the last 5 years, we have funded $1 million of deficits that's supposed to be supported by the user fees. In the last 40 years, they only increased the user fee 3 times and was insufficient to maintain the operation. And that's why we had all the public hearings and the public meetings and the rate study, and now the plan to modernize it is in place.
Well, I get that, but I just wondered why we were asked to buy this stuff.
Well, because you have to pay for your trash services.
Yeah.
It's not borne by your property taxes. It's a user fee.
But,
Just like the water
but it's
and the sewer.
buying equipment, so that was my point. Why am I buying equipment when
because
I haven't done it before?
You have through your user fee. You paid $9.85 a month for trash for the last 15 years.
And that kept up the equipment?
No, it didn't. That's the whole point.
Okay. All right.
Is there anything else, ma'am? I'll let the,
Number 6. The traffic plan for East Main, I noticed in the paper today, it said trees would have to come down. Can you tell me what corner?
It didn't say that. It said we did tree clearing as a part, tree pruning as a part of making the signs more visible.
I didn't see
That's what it was
pruning.
intended to say. I think that is what it said.
And is there a saturation point for Madison regarding Airbnbs? Are we going to keep losing residential housing for this?
I'm not aware that we're at a saturation point. Do you have a number in mind?
Well, no, because I don't know how many we have.
Okay.
So I just wondered if that is projected to consider a saturation point.
I have not worked on a saturation projection.
Okay. Well, then I'll be back.
Please do. Please
Thank you.
anytime. Thank you. Is anybody else here would like to address council or the mayor's office?
My name is Jarrett Boyd. I live at 111 East 3rd Street. I have a couple of things. One not on my list. I just have one thing on my list. While the chief is here, I think that traffic turning onto West Street from Main Street when they're making a right-hand turn, it is so dangerous. And I cross that corner every day, usually twice a day as I walk my dog. And people talking on their phone, making a right turn, never even looking to see if there's anybody there. I think that corner needs to be watched and perhaps people stopped. And the loud vehicles on Main Street. We have lots of restaurants and places, coffee shops to sit outside, and talk. And traffic is one thing, but the people that have souped up their cars and race on Main Street, I hope that attention will be paid. That's the bad news. I wanted to congratulate council, the mayor, everyone that was involved with the swimming pool. We've had our water aerobics twice, Monday and Tuesday, and while it was very, very frigid getting into the pool, of course, once you get moving, it's okay. And it's well attended, and I drove by yesterday afternoon, and the pool was just packed. It was so exciting to see all around how wonderful it was. So, thank you. We needed it, and it's just delightful. Several months ago, I wrote a letter to the mayor and one to members of city council that I think Carla forwarded to all of you about the naming of the park. I want to thank you again for making it a non-personal name. I think it will open up the opportunity for people in future generations to be honored there. And, oh, I forgot something. On May the 3rd, excuse me. Well, I've lost part of it. Anyway, early on, you all had your vote and you changed the name. And then on May the 13th, there was an article in the Louisville Courier-Journal about Ed Hamilton, the sculptor who has made the DeBaptiste bust that will be a part of the park. And it was so interesting because it names the cities all over the country and the well-known personages that have his sculptures in them. Of course, the most well-known around here is the very large Abraham Lincoln statue that is on the Belvedere in Louisville. So it names a few of the cities: New Haven, Connecticut; New Hampshire; Newport News, Virginia; Charlotte, North Carolina; Danville, Kentucky; Washington, D.C. He has more than one in Washington, D.C. Be proud that you can add Madison, Indiana to that list. Thank you.
Jared, thank you very much. Thank you for your comments, and I want to agree with you too that this intersection right here is very dangerous. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of vehicular traffic, all trying to cross at the same time. We've had more than one pedestrian accident there at this intersection, and so part of our Main Street revitalization plans is a long-term plan, but and I'm not sure the community understands this. There's $35 million worth of infrastructure needs on our Main Street. It's a formidable endeavor to harness the resources to make a big impact on the street. And when I say $35 million, it's not, you know, the paving of the gutter, the stormwater. It's improving the crosswalk safety. It's modernizing the crosswalk signals, and it's also understanding the fact that this isn't a traffic corridor anymore to go from, you know, Kentucky to Clarksville or out to I-65. It is a much different place than it was, you know, 50, 75 years ago when Main Street was designed and operated. And we have an opportunity, as we were talking about opportunity costs earlier and the capital investment needs, we have an opportunity now to really modernize this for the next quarter to half century use in the best, you know, historic district in the country. And we have to make those investments. So you're right. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of planning and a lot of capital over many, many cycles. We've already received 2 grant cycles from the Federal Highway Administration, but it's a 10-year master plan. It's going to take a lot of resources to execute. And then on to Ed Hamilton, phenomenal sculptor. We're continuing to work hard on the Ohio River Legacy Park, and we've been working with the company in Louisville for the monument, which the bus will sit on. But it's also taking shape. If you have if you're out there walking around, walk down the new Legacy Walk, which is just south abutting the park, and you'll see the 2 main features, which is the DeBaptiste memorial there, and then on the north side it'll be the Costigan Overlook. Both very prominent figures of our 19th century, with prominence in that park. Steak and shape. Anybody else like to address council or mayor's office? Yeah, please come up.
Elise Detmer, 104 East 3rd Street, and I must say, I knew nothing that Deanna was doing up here about the truck that everybody knows about. She's a friend, but I did not know she was coming or say anything, and mine is connected with that. What I want
She's a
to
good
know
friend.
is, but Carla has kind of addressed it a little bit, I want to know a current valid copy of the parking ordinances of the city. The one that I have that was given to me in here says nothing about near, and I was told it was changed about 11 years ago. Is that this one that I have?
I don't know.
This is the
But
one
we
that
can
we
get you the
discussed
current
with
one.
you. This is the one that we discussed with you at the
We can
that meeting.
get you a current one, and we can also give you the state statute that defines what an abandoned vehicle
I just want to know, is this the current one?
I don't know what you have in your hand.
It's the one that we discussed.
The one online is the current one.
Um,
Maybe they need to look into abandon a vehicle that has not been moved or used for going on to 6 months. A vehicle that everyone knows, it is a councilman who has parked it there.
No, I believe that is,
Yeah.
The current one? Yeah, that's what that one says. Okay, again, I didn't know that Dan was addressing this, but you all know what I'm talking about. About the vehicle that has not been used or moved for going on to 6 months. It is there strictly for maintenance, and it seems that no one can do anything about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to address council or mayor's office? I'll give a couple of updates as we roll out of here. We all had a great Memorial Day. Madison was hopping, fantastic weekend, car show, pool opening, all phenomenal. A lot going on in the city, tourism and activity related over the course of the summer, and June's going to be really busy, and this weekend's no exception. We will be having a ribbon cutting on June the 11th for the economic development announcement with the City of Madison Port Authority, which continues to bring new business in and take advantage of our rail transportation. We will have a swearing-in ceremony Saturday morning here, 10 o'clock a.m. Public's invited for Shirley's swearing in as our new City of Madison Clerk Treasurer. So looking forward to that on Saturday and making you official. Thank you for supporting us and stepping in. Yesterday at Board of Public Works, we talked about two things just to make you aware of as well. City of Madison will be sending out a lead line survey to each of the households in the city. Oh, okay. Well, we're doing a lead line survey as required by state and federal law to evaluate. This is for the lateral line. So this lead line survey is for homes that may have a lead line in their home that's connecting to our line. So this is to help homeowners identify if they have lead lines in their home, and then we will be working with funding sources for the replacement of their lead lines. These are not the City of Madison's survey. This is for each individual homeowner. And then we were talking earlier about our transfer station operation modernization plan. We'll be launching soon an application for the community to select their cart, which is the standard garbage truck compatible trash container. And there will be a process where the community can select what size of cart they want from 3 sizes, and if they don't select a size, so it's their standard size that we'll be issuing. So more information to come on those, and I think that's it. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, June the 18th. Anybody here have any final thoughts before we entertain a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.